Well, today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the latest GCW event, One Afternoon Only. This is only 2 weeks prior before we get to America's Most Wanted back in LA at the Ukrainian Culture Center. We're also going to be continuing with more on New Japan Pro Wrestling, but we're only going to focus on the World Tag League matches. And then finally, AEW Dark Elevation. Also, we're going to be having the Unagi Sayaka Watch. As you know, we had two events that she was involved in this past weekend on the 4th and 5th with two different promotions. And of course, we will end it with news updates to find out what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, say hello to everybody. So anyway, let's talk about, of course, GCW One Afternoon. This is one of the recent events that GCW had this past weekend. It opened up, of course, as always. Nick Gage comes out greeting his gang as always. So I don't need to go much into that. But however, let's go with the first match. We have Starboy Charlie versus Jeffrey John. Now, I might have heard Jeffrey John before, but I haven't seen him much. But Starboy Charlie, I have to say, I feel like he came back with a vengeance after his injury. Not to mention that impressive match that he had with Jack Cartwheel the day before, and his big match that he had with Juicy Finau about a month or two ago. So that's what I liked about it. But he pulled off an impressive leg lock onto Jeffrey John to give him the win. Now our next match, we have Axton Ray. As you know, he was very impressive with his tag team match with Shane Mercer. But however, his opponent is AJ Gray. Now, we haven't seen AJ for quite some time. The last time we saw him is when he lost the GCW Extreme title to Cole Radrick about a couple of months ago. Now, I've been trying to find out what's been going on with him. No luck whatsoever, but hopefully one day we will find out. But I have to say it was a very impressive match, but it was more of a pound for pound, big brute over um, big brute, that sort of thing. And I think it was a pretty good match, but it was big lariat by AJ Gray that set up the deal for him to win over Axton Ray. Next match, we have one called Manders versus Jordan Oliver. Now, Jordan Oliver, if you guys remember, the day before he had a very intense match with that a-hole, Tony Deppen. His left arm has been messed up a bit, so he had to be more careful. But the one thing I did notice, even though Manders is a big dude, Jordan Oliver couldn't apply the cloud counter, because if you guys ever seen him how he does with his moves, he has to jump into the corner, grab onto the ropes in the corner side, then level top. But he couldn't do that due to the injury of his arm. But he was able to pull off a victory roll onto Manders to pick up the win. I thought it was very interesting, but also an alternative way to ensure he picks up a good win against Manders. Now, our next match, we have a 8-man tag match. We have Infra Bang, consistent of two different teams. We have Infrared, Logan James and Tyler Metrics teaming up with the Bang Bros, August Matthews and David Bang. They take on Sawyer Wreck, Alley Catch, and Second Gear Crew, Matthew Justice and Mance Warner. I have to say the match was pretty impressive in certain ways because you have two teams that have been very impressive in one, which is End for Bang in every way. And you go, of course, you got across the ring. You got two impressive ladies who are killing it in GCW, and of course, one of the most dangerous dudes in the planet. However, at some point in the match, some masked dude attacked Ali out of the blue, and of course, Justice and Warner did not take that too kindly. But I'm going to guess that is none other than, of course, what's his name, Charles Mason. It has to be him. There's no doubt about that. But however, it was, of course, a four corner massacre by Wreck, Ali, and Second Gear Crew that finished off um, Tyler Tyler Matrix, and boom, it was over right from there. Next match, we have Shane Mercer versus Jared Carville. Pretty good match. You know, Shane Mercer is impressive as always, but he pulled off an amazing double finisher. He normally finishes off his opponents with the moonsault battery, which is he has his opponents like this crossbody with him, and then he does a moonsault, but this time he did another finisher to ensure for good measures, which is the Diablo driver. I thought it was great, a way to make sure you finish the job consistently. Now, our next match, I thought it was really fun. Effie versus Cold Roderick. I don't know exactly what it is, but it was so crazy because you know how Effie is. He's been asking Cold Roderick to kiss him. And of course, Coach Rodriguez has been trying to play little mind games of his own, where he sing along saying, "Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?" I thought it was so hilarious. But the match ended in a no contest with the appearance of that piece of garbage, Charles Mason. Yes, once again, Mason gets involved because his true target all this time was Effie, just to get on the head. And of course, Ali tried to plead with him to let him go, but of course, Mason was not going to do that. But luckily, the second gear crew showed up for Ali's back. You know, Charles Mason is saying that no one cares about Ali. What about the second gear crew? They showed up. But sooner or later, Charles Mason's going to get what's coming to him, one way or the other. Next match, we have an impressive six-man tag match. We have Jimmy Lloyd teaming up with the current tag team champions, Los Macizos, Miedo Extremo and Ciclopse, taking on Madman Pondo and the Rejects, um, John Wayne Murdoch and Reed Bentley. Impressive match, I have to say, but this match ended with a crazy super destroyer by John Wayne Murdoch onto Jimmy Lloyd. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rejects are targeting the tag team titles. That's something I can't see, but it was impressive. Now, our next matches, we have Tony Deppen, that a-hole, taking on Billy Starks. But man, Tony Deppen is on a mission. He's trying to prove a point, saying that he is going to take that title away from Nick Gage 2 weeks from now. But he is making a mockery on Billy Starks. But however, once again, he put her in a position where Billy was incapable of defending herself. The referee called it, but Tony Deppen, out of control as the a-hole he is, he took out the referee. But luckily, Nick Gage whacked his ass with a chair to teach him a lesson that he's going to F him up at America's Most Wanted. And that's something we know we're going to see. But as soon as that was over, Nick Gage checked up on Billy, and of course he asked Billy, since she's tougher than he sees that she looks, he asked her to close it out with, of course, that it's MDK all effing day. And I think that's a pretty good way to end the show. But we're just going to wait in 2 weeks' time what's going to happen. So I think that's pretty much it with the GCW stuff. I believe it's time for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, now we're in New Japan Pro Wrestling, as I said before, we're going to focus on World Tag League. So let's see what matches we have so far. Opening match, or our first match, is Gabriel Kidd and Alex Coughlin taking on the House of Torture, Yujiro Takahashi and Evil. Now we all know how how House of Torture operates at certain times. When a referee is knocked out, we see, of course, the other members of House of Torture show and that dirtbag, Dick Togo. So they show up. At first, Evil told him to step away, let them handle it. We should have known that they low blowed Kid and Coughlin until they called him back and tried to deal with them. Now, you probably would have assumed this was going to end because the entire time Kid and Coughlin did not have any 2 points, but somehow they were able to overturn this, Coughlin and Kid. But it was Coughlin with a suplex onto Udro to get them their first 2 points. At least they get something. But I'm sure the House of Torture are not happy with this, or just deep shock. They thought they had this right in the bag, knowing that the ones in the bottom of the pile, they get nothing. Now, we get a United Empire showdown. We have, of course, team number one, Aaron Henare and Great-O-Khan against Aussie Open. This is one of those times. Now, I don't know where Gideon Gray is getting at with this thing where he claims that both teams are going to end up in the finals. No. I think many people believe at this point Aussie Open may end up at the finals. And I personally can see that too. I don't think Great Khan or Henare are able to make it due to not being at the top at the moment. But it was a pretty good match. It was more like who deserved it more. But in this case, it was Aussie Open when they applied the Coriolis onto Henare and picked up the win. But however, Gideon Gray puts out this promo saying that the United Empire is the best unit ever of what they are. I mean, look, there's units that are going to come and go. Sooner or later, someone's going to overthrow the United Empire. But right now, they are at the top of their game. So basically, they show their respects for each other, knowing. But like I said before, I do see Aussie Open make it all the way to the finals. Now, our next match, we have Suzuki-gun, consistent of Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki, taking on last year's winners, Bushman, consistent of Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. This is one of those matches where it's tougher. Keep in mind, Archer and Suzuki are no slouches. Now, Goto does have some bit of history with Suzuki in the past. They have dealt with each other before. If you guys remember a couple years back, when Minoru Suzuki was the never openweight champion, it was Goto who defeated him under the condition that he shaves his head. And that happened. But this time it was Suzuki who ended up on the wrong side of the Shoto, giving them the win. And I'm sure they're not happy with the whole thing, but we could see that coming down the road. Now, our main event, we have TMDK, consistent of Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols, taking on B-Boop Tag Team, consistent of Toru Yano and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, we have seen how these TMDK have been very impressive, but B-Bop Team have been one of those teams that, okay, they are doing the best they can, but it also did help them. It took a lot of beating for these guys to overturn this, but it was, in fact, Tanahashi with the high five flow onto Nichols to give them their win. I thought it was very impressive. Pretty good ending right there. So I think that's pretty much it with New Japan. I believe it's time for AEW Dark Elevation. Okay, our last review is AEW Dark. Opened up with Hagane Shinoe. You guys remember him from Choco Pro, Got to Move, various promotions. He takes on the Factory's Nick Camarado. Now, as always, we normally would assume in these type of matches, when it comes to Dark Elevation, that, of course, Nick Camarado was going to win. But no, it did not turn out this way. This was a surprise upset for me because, like I said, normally we don't see these type of wrestlers win. But it was Hagane Shinoe with a somewhat of a crucifix that put away Nick Camarado. But however, Nick Camarado and Aaron Solo decided to beat the crap out of him, teach him a lesson. Do not beat against guys like the Factory. So it was strange, but I do know for a fact that fans know who he is because the last time he had his match against Angelico, he had a very impressive um, crowd reaction, knowing that people know who he is. If you guys have been watching Got to Move, then you guys know what I'm talking about. But yes, that's how it is. Next match, we have Marina Shafir on Nyla Rose, along with Vicky Guerrero taking on Kitty LaFleur and Alice Cromwell. Now, this was a very interesting matchup, but it was a combination between Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir, where Nyla Rose picked up, and of course, Marina applied a DDT onto Alice Cromwell, giving Marina Shafir the time to pick up the pinfall to give herself the win. Next match, we have Kira Hogan taking on Nikki Victoria. Now, this is the first time we see, what's her name? Kira Hogan now more often in matches. As you know, she's been let go by the baddies, by Jade Cargill. She is no longer part of the baddies. Reasons I say that maybe because she felt that she couldn't get the belt back from Nyla Rose, and I think that was the best thing. So now I think it's a perfect opportunity for Kira Hogan to focus on herself more often than the baddies. And I think that's what the idea is being planted. But she did pick up a good win when she applied a suplex onto Nikki Victory to give her the win. Next match, we have Top Flight, Dante and Darius taking on Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd. Pretty good match, but you can tell by Magnum and Floyd they're tough SOBs, but the athleticism and agility of both Top Flight members, you know they're going to pick up the win one way or the other, with Dante applying the nosedive, which sealed the deal onto Truth Magnum. Now, we do see an interview take place. Once again, tensions between Ethan Page and Matt Hardy rages on. As you know, Ethan Page has been trying to get Matt Hardy to stand in line regardless. That's what has been going on. So, however, he's willing to do harm on the private party no matter what. But we'll see what happens down the road on this one. Next match, we have Emi Sakura taking on Madison Rayne. This is one of those matches where, of course, Madison Rayne is well aware of Emi Sakura's reputation. You would have assumed that certain ways that Madison Rayne could have picked up the win, but no, it was Emi Sakura with the Magistral that gave her the win on this one. Next one, we have Serpentico along with Luther taking on Lee Moriarty on this one. Now, keep in mind, Serpentico, he had no chance in hell, but I can tell you this one match that it ended with the Border City stretch, and it was right there. Next up, we got the Embassy, consistent of the Gates of Agony, Bishop Khan, and Toa Lona, well, along with teaming up with Brian Cage, being accompanied by Prince Nana to take on Dan Adams, who we know is Dan the Dad, Star Rider, I think that's his name, Star Rider, and Facade. Now, there was a good moment where we saw Dan actually does it was that, and just like that, just so hilarious. But, however, it was a power bomb on Star Rider that sealed the deal for the Embassy to pick up the win. But, however, at the end of the match, we saw our current ROH six-man tag team champions, Dalton Castle and the boys. Looks more like they're laying out a challenge to the Embassy for a shot of the ROH six-man tag team championship. So I'm going to assume that they want this match to take place at Final Battle on December 10th. We're not that far off at this moment. Next match, we have Kip Sabian and Alex Reynolds. Once again, we continue on with the rubber match. This is the third match so far. So this has been going on long enough. No, fourth match, I believe. The first two matches, we do know that Kip Sabian won those. But the last one before this one, it was Alex Reynolds. But however, they decided to taunt Alex Reynolds with talking about 10. Now, keep in mind, Alex Reynolds is still trying to get over about what happened with 10, betraying him and the rest of Dark Order but Penelope Ford got involved once again, giving Kip Sabian a chance to apply a face buster right into the face of Alex Reynolds to pick up the. Now, our main event, we have Konosuke Takeshita taking on Aaron Solo. Now, the obvious question does remain last time. Last week, we saw Don Callis shows up. We don't know what's his intentions, but it appears his his sight is on Konosuke Takeshita. I don't know if he wants to recruit him or manage him. Don't know. But once again, Konosuke Takeshita continues to impress us as always. But he picked up a good win with an amazing German suplex onto Aaron Solo. But once it was over, Konosuke realized who was outside, but he asked him, "What's up? What are you doing?" So it's still unclear yet. Now, we won't know the answers yet by the invisible hand himself, Don Callis, but we will find out soon enough. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with the Unagi Sayaka Watch. Okay, welcome to the Unagi Sayaka Watch for everyone. Let's get started with what took place in her life as a freelancer since she stepped into it early this October. As you know, she was involved recently on December 4th in Corkin Hall for Marvelous. Now, Marvelous has done a one-day only tournament for the AAAW title that was vacant by Takumi Iroha due to an injury she suffered. Now, Unagi was announced that she will be involved in this match. There had stars from both the Marvelous side and the freelancer side. Since Unagi is now a freelancer, so she stepped in. Her opponent that she was challenging was Tokoma Watanabe, a veteran in the Yoshi world. However, many of us might have thought Unagi was going to win. Personally, I didn't think she was going to win this one. But however, the way this match ended, it was in a 10-minute time limit draw. Now, some of you said, wait a minute, really? 10 minutes? Yes, 10 minutes. You heard me right. I looked it up. And I was like, cannot believe that happened. But in result, because it ended in a time limit draw, it did say that that both Watanabe and Unagi are been disqualified from the tournament on this one. So that means they don't advance. They just are completely out. So that kind of pissed off Watanabe, but hey, what can she do? There's nothing she can do, and ended with a time limit draw. Now, the following day in Sendai Girls, we did see her team up with Yurika Oka that be in a handicap match against Chihiro Hashimoto. Now, let's recap on this whole thing and how this happened. Unagi did call out Hashimoto on Twitter. If you guys remember, she hopped on a bullet train from Tokyo to Sendai. She shows up at the Sendai Girls dojo. Of course, in Sendai, of course. I'm not going to ignore that. Them asking for a match. So she ended up, instead of having a singles match with Hashimoto, they decided to put her in a tag team match. We were waiting for who was going to be her tag partner, and apparently resulted, it did not happen. But she took on both Hashimoto and Yu, collectively known as Team 200 kilograms, losing to them. However, at the end of the match, Yurika Oka was impressed by her, and she wanted a singles match with her. Hashimoto did not like what she was hearing. Now, the reason Hashimoto did not like that was because, A, Oka is in fact a member of the Sendai Girl roster. But because of that, they said that Hashimoto decided, how about a handicap match? You team up with each other to take me on, And that's what led to this particular match. I have to say they put up a good performance, both of them. I mean, Unagi refused to give up, but it was Hashimoto who, in fact, how do I say this, put Unagi in a power bomb and landed her right on top of Oka. However, once again, I think Hashimoto, who's been ducking for a singles match against Unagi, kind of realized there's no stopping her. So, in the post match, she announced that she wants to have a singles match with Unagi, and that's going to take place on the 23rd of December. So, it's kind of interesting that that took place. So, I think maybe because Hashimoto felt that maybe she was a waste of time, but maybe this match kind of made her see she's not wasting time. She wants to face the best. But as you know, Hashimoto is still dealing with. Hashimoto had a previous match. I'll get to that on the news updates. But the obvious question does this mean for me right now when it comes to this? What does this mean for Yurika Oka? Is Unagi going to give her singles match like she wants, or are they going to be teaming up more often? Because I know in the much previous Marvelous match that she did, uh, Eureka acted as her second along with Rina Mikura. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see what happens during that time. So I think that's pretty much it on the Unagi Sayaka Watch. I believe it's time to end it with our news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. Now, update number one we have, of course, is GCW updates. Now, if you guys may have heard, GCW are making some interesting plays recently. The first one was announced. GCW sent out a video message to a Canadian promotion called IWS Hardcore, I think that's what it was called, announcing that they'll make their way to Canada on March 11th. So they'll be heading to Montreal, I believe, and that's going to be interesting to hear. So I'm looking forward to it. So Nick Gage did say that he's not coming alone. He's bringing his entire gang with him. So of course, what does the other promotion says? Let's effing go. Now, another interesting move has been made by GCW. They're going to have one of those um, clashes with other promotions. This one is coming from New South, a promotion based out of Alabama. I've seen many of their shows. Very interesting. This was going to take place on the 22nd of January at the Singing River Brewery in Florence, Alabama. So you'll be looking out for that. I'm looking forward to that. But also, they announced that on March 10th, a day before the Montreal event, they'll be heading to Toronto. So that's going to be good to know. Now, a huge announcement came from West Coast Pro, which is a promotion based out of the Bay Area in San Francisco mostly, has announced that on May 2023, they're going to have the first ever Queen of the Indies on the in May, I believe. Yeah, in May. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with what this is, recently they had this show called The King of the Indies. They got wrestlers from various parts of the world. Um, the winner for this year was none other than Dragon Lee. So we could see anybody from anywhere in the world, including Yoshi wrestlers. I'm excited for this because I want to see this. So hopefully this is going to be great. Now our next update, I did mention about the Chris Brookes and Drew Parker wrestling anniversary. Um, Chris Brookes announced that his show, the Shimokitasawa event that will be taking on the 13th of December, which is, of course, the day of his 15-year anniversary as a pro wrestler, and also the 10-year anniversary for Drew Parker, was announced that they're going to have this event be streamed on YouTube on the Got to Move YouTube channel. I have to say it was a smart move. I know Masahiro Takanashi announced this. Haven't announced what matches are going to take place for this one. Hold on, maybe I could find it. I think I saw that earlier. Let's see. Okay, here are the matches they did announce for that particular event. We have Mao taking on Deathworm. I can't believe he's back. We have tag team action. We have Mei Suruga and her student Miya Yotsuba taking on Masahiro Takanashi and Chiko Shikawa. Drew Parker versus Chris Brookes, and then of course Antonio Honda will do a special performance on that particular day. I'm looking forward to this event. I have to say it's going to be good. If you guys don't have the Got to Move, you should check it out. It's going to be on the Got to Move YouTube channel. It's going to be great. Now, our final update. This one is coming from the Sendai Girls. Now, I did mention about Hashimoto on the 4th of December. Hashimoto put her title on the line, the Sendai's championship, and she lost the title to Veni, or should I say Asuka, as we know her down there in Japan. Now, if you guys know this or not, Hashimoto has reigned the champion for almost 1,000 days. She is the longest reigning champion for this promotion. I felt like maybe it was time for her to let it go, but information has arose about the person that they wanted to win this title. This is something that I did not hear about, but it was kind of curious. Apparently, they wanted Mika Iwata to win the title, but she respectfully declined for it. It's still unclear why she did it, but if you guys know the answer to that, please comment that below. But it was unusual. I don't know if she felt that she was not ready for it or what. But we're just gonna see how this is gonna go with Asuka as the champion. I'm sure she is a capable champion. We have seen her before, but we'll find out soon enough. I think that's pretty much what we have for our news updates. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up is Tuesday Wrestling. And of course, you all know what that means. That means we're going to be reviewing NWA, Power, AEW Dark, and NXT. But we're also going to review Stardom's finals of the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. I'm excited for this because I'm going to see how this whole thing played out as well. And of course, I just saw this earlier. There's going to be a press conferences involving New Blood 6 and the Ryogoku event on the 29th. We're going to see what matches are going to take place. So I'm excited for that too. And of course, if there's any news updates, I will be talking about those too. So, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.